My wife Willow and I are both well-known attorneys in the capital. She is a legal beauty in the financial world, while I shine uniquely in divorce litigation. All these years our relationship has been steady, our careers complement each other, and we're hailed as a model couple in the profession. Everything changed at a class reunion when Willow ran into her college dream lover, Makoto. These days he drives luxury cars and lives in a mansion, the very picture of someone who's winning at life. Yet just as everyone was fawning over him, he suddenly began talking, right there in public, about the humiliation of being cheated on. It was so tragic. Even the walls were about to cry. Even Willow got swept up in his emo wave. She almost wanted to throw him a big OL love hug right then and there. The real shock came later. Makoto bypassed me, paid a hefty retainer, and hired my wife as his personal divorce attorney. Every day they shut the office door and worked late into the night. When Willow herself began to feel it was inappropriate and asked whether a colleague could take over, I closed the door on the two of them and flatly refused. How could we? The men already paid. Chapter 1. I hadn't planned on attending Willow's class reunion. Unfinished work had me set on pulling overtime. Besides, at reunions it's perfectly normal to bump into an old flame and reminisce. My presence would only make things awkward. Willow giggled and teased. Attorney Wong thinks only about work, not his wife, yet still makes it sound so nice. No wonder you're the firm's golden poster boy. Everyone agreed to bring their plus ones. It's all about showing off our wonderful new lives, no unresolved feelings. I promise. Come with me, will you? I laughed. The work wasn't that urgent anyway, so I changed clothes and left with her. Little did I know those words would prove prophetic. At the reunion we really did run into Willow's ex, Makoto. Back in college they'd been the perfect campus couple. When they graduated, Makoto went straight to work while Willow pursued grad school. They say graduation season is breakup season. Distance and time did the rest, and Makoto soon found a new girlfriend. Rumor had it she was the boss's heiress. Whenever Willow mentioned that relationship later, all she'd say was, everyone has their own path. Still, how could an unattainable first love not leave a trace of regret in her heart? Makoto was on the thin side. A slightly pale face held an optimistic smile whose authenticity was hard to gauge, and his manners were refined. But he came alone. A curious classmate asked why, after all the talk about bringing spouses, he hadn't brought his partner. Makoto just smiled without answering. I glanced at Willow. She was happily chatting with a friend and even turned to give me a carefree smile, no hint of emotion in her eyes. After a few rounds of drinks the atmosphere grew lively. Some exchanged pleasantries and offered job referrals. Others swapped business cards with practiced ease. By our 30s everyone knows the rules of the game. Those old bonds of classmates and the single-word spouse have become the perfect lubricant for trading resources. Only Makoto sat alone in a corner, looking slightly ill at ease. Having lived off others for years, these conversations were probably foreign to him. Someone walked over with a glass of wine and joked. I heard Makoto married a rich heiress, driving fancy cars and living in a mansion. A real winner at life. Don't forget us wage slaves when you strike it rich. Okay, by the way, why didn't you bring the missus tonight? Makoto stayed silent for a while, then drained his glass. His eyes reddened, and he spoke in a hoarse voice. I probably can't be of much help to anyone. He sighed. I'm planning to get a divorce soon. Chapter 2. The classmate had meant his remark as nothing more than polite small talk. Yet the moment Makoto replied an awkward look crept over his face. Sorry, he muttered. I didn't realize you all. The private room fell gradually silent. And, to everyone's surprise, tears spilled from Makoto's eyes. With a sour, self-deprecating smile he said, in the end it's my own lack of ability. I've no one else to blame. Someone passed him a drink, and Makoto started telling his story in bits and pieces. It was the usual sad drama. His father-in-law looked down on him. His wife bossed him around like a servant. All the family assets were in her parents' hands. And at work he was treated like a free laborer, no pay, all work. The worst part, he came back from a business trip and caught his wife cheating with her personal trainer. Not only did he fail to stand up for himself, but the guy beat him up and sent him straight to the hospital. It was the kind of story that could make anyone tear up just hearing it. Indignation flared around the table. Who could stomach that kind of humiliation? Outrageous. One classmate exploded. Another clapped Makoto on the shoulder. Listen, man, file for divorce today, and tomorrow I'll take you to a club, book a VIP suite, and line up some hot young models. We only get about 30,000 days on this planet. Live it up while you can. A third chimed in with a mocking lilt. Exactly. Our straight-A genius Ito, degrees and talent to spare, why keep living under their roof, if you don't ditch them? Aren't you just a spineless turtle? Right on cue someone dragged Willow and me into it. Don't Willow and her husband run a firm, with a gold-plated lawyer right here? What's there to fear? Don't just divorce, strip them for every last cent. Makoto's eyes lit up. His mood visibly steadied. I turned to Willow. Her face remained calm, though her hand tightened slightly in mine. In a low voice she said, "My husband specializes in divorce work. If you need advice, you can talk to him." The air grew thick. Makoto frowned in thought, then asked, "I've long heard of Attorney Wang's reputation. Could I trouble you for some help?" I sighed inwardly. His case was crystal clear, and all too common. A wealthy heiress might be hopelessly in love, but her parents stay stone-cold rational. Many elite families play it the same way. They act open-minded, no need for a live-in son-in-law, no demand the kids take their surname, even offering the newlyweds some startup cash. Yet every asset remains locked under parental control so they can sweep the husband out the door at any moment. Cost-free. Every step is legal, airtight. Choosing my words carefully, I laid out the facts. Legally speaking, I concluded, even though she cheated, you're unlikely to get much property in the divorce. Makoto's jaw dropped. I pointed to the car key by his hand. The house, the car, everything's in your father-in-law's name. Right. You should focus on a labor suit. If she holds no assets herself, a divorce case will leave you with next to nothing. If we can claw back the wages they owe you, that's already a win. From there we can discuss whether to negotiate for maximum gain or keep quiet so that money doesn't get labeled marital property. Otherwise you might walk away with nothing. And even. I hadn't finished when Makoto's expression suddenly darkened. He fixed me with a heavy stare. "So, Attorney Wang, after I've worked myself to the bone for the Lin family all these years, your advice is that, even after she cheats, all I can hope for is my back wages?" I was surprised by how bluntly he summed it up, but I still nodded. The power elite always front-load their legal planning. I said, "It's nothing out of the ordinary." Someone nearby muttered a curse about capital. Another whispered pity for Makoto. Makoto ignored me and turned his gaze on Willow. "Willow, is that what you think too?" Willow hesitated, then let out a quiet sigh. With her experience she understood the scenario perfectly. And, sure enough, she kept silent. Makoto gave a string of harsh, mirthless laughs. He stood, pulled on his jacket, and, brows knotted, declared, "I might not be as accomplished as Attorney Wang, but I've gone through hell and high water, fought my way through the business world at home and abroad. I'm forged in iron, a real tough guy. I've done my stint in legal departments too. Every law you know, I know, and what you don't, I still know. No one understands the law better than I do. I'm not about to wag my tail and beg for a pitiful paycheck like some spineless cur. If that's the master plan from a famous divorce lawyer, then I, Makoto, don't need it. Even if it means a scorched earth fight, fish dead, net torn, I'll make them pay the price." Chapter 3. Because of Makoto's outburst, the reunion broke up early. The restaurant was a fair drive from our place. Even on empty night roads it still took close to 20 minutes. Willow rode in silence in the passenger seat. Out of the corner of my eye I saw her head bowed, brows tightly knit, the look she wears only when a case turns truly thorny. Anyone would feel a few ripples after a night like this. I could understand that much. Back home I went straight to the study to finish some work. This time Willow didn't follow me as she usually does, and I thought nothing of it, until a sudden crash of shattering glass came from the living room. I stepped out to find Willow standing before the wine cabinet. Red wine splashed across the floor like a crime scene stain. I frowned and snapped, "That's shaken up." Her hand, poised over the shards, froze. "What are you talking about?" "Makoto," I said, keeping my answer short. Willow pressed her lips together. Annoyance flared in me. I wasn't the only one with feelings tonight. Makoto's parting tirade had left me plenty exasperated. I reminded her in a low voice. "Willow, I said I didn't plan to go, you insisted, and you were the one who invited Makoto to ask me for advice." She looked up. Tear tracks still glistened at the corners of her eyes. Her voice quavered. "Yes, but, George, did you have to put it so harshly?" For an instant I genuinely wondered whether she meant the words I'd said to Makoto or the ones I was saying now. Dabbing her eyes, she went on. "George, you're always so rational, an outside observer who spots a dead end at a glance. But did you ever think about how Makoto feels? His marriage is already a misery. Why rub salt in the wound? Don't you have any compassion?" I let out a short, incredulous laugh. Years of courtroom reflexes sent my tongue ahead of my brain. "Willow, get this straight. I'm not the one who ruined Makoto's marriage." Instead of lecturing me about pointless sympathy, maybe tell him that a wise, cultured person leverages outside forces to reach his goals. If he knew how to use resources, he wouldn't be where he is. And since you handle high-end asset protection and legal planning every day, you of all people know the drill. What? Never thought the same tactics might be used on your ex? Willow's face tightened. She clearly hadn't expected such bluntness. "Honey, that's not what I meant." I curled my lip. "Then what do you mean? Do you think one marriage license entitles him to generations of family wealth, or that he can sway a judge with sob stories in court?" "Willow, what exactly are you angry about?" She stayed silent for a long time, then shook her head. I watched her wrap each shard in paper, mop up every drop of wine, and make the living room pristine again. Only then did she lean into my arms and whisper, "I'm sorry, honey. Everything you said was true. I was too emotional." I just felt a little sorry for him. But in the end, every choice he made was his own. It's on no one else. Chapter 4. I didn't fall out too badly with Willow over this. First of all, she had already recognized her mistake. Instead of acting stubborn, she offered a sincere apology, and that was enough. Secondly, I'm a realist. If two people can get along, that's what really matters in a relationship. There's no need to make a fuss over things that aren't fundamental. Makoto was a part of her life before I ever came into the picture. No matter how they eventually broke up, those shared experiences they once had wouldn't change or simply vanish. Perhaps things have changed, and people too, but memories, when weathered by time, become something precious, and I allow Willow to keep that kind of preciousness. After all, humans are emotional beings. Even with objects, the longer you use them, the harder it is to let go, let alone a lover with whom you once shared mutual affection. If I were in Willow's shoes today, I probably wouldn't be able to stay stone-hearted either. Besides, Makoto does evoke some sympathy. Not to mention he graduated from a top university and had a promising future ahead of him. From a perspective of empathy, I completely understand how it feels to live under someone else's roof and be treated like a burden. It's frustrating and humiliating. Honestly, I even admire his willingness to go down in flames if it meant dragging others with him. That kind of all-or-nothing resolve. It speaks to a part of me too. When I first entered the legal field, I had no say in what cases I handled. Whatever landed on my desk, I just focused on doing it well. Later on, as I advanced in my career and began to earn a voice, I gradually steered myself onto the path of a divorce lawyer. That said, before things truly reach the point of no return, I believe every relationship deserves to be taken seriously. Willow is no exception. She's attractive, gentle in nature, and an excellent cook. Even though she's just past 30, her figure is still well-maintained, elegant curves and a slender, supple waist. By conventional standards, she's very much my type. So, as of now, this marriage is still worth preserving. Life moved forward steadily, without any dramatic waves. Willow and I continued with our work. If either of us got off early, we'd sometimes catch a movie together, or she'd cook us a nice dinner. Makoto felt like a side quest that had briefly popped up in a video game. Left alone, it quickly disappeared again. The next time I heard anything about him was about half a month later. It happened during a small gathering of friends, and one of them happened to be a classmate of Willow's. The classmate suddenly brought him up. He and his wife have been fighting pretty badly lately. I heard his father-in-law found out about one of their arguments and slapped him in the face, in a meeting room, in front of everyone. That's just humiliating. Oh, and Willow, he said something in the group chat about you and your husband being cold and distant. What was that about? Didn't he randomly start threatening George that night for no reason? I froze, then looked up at Willow. She was blanching vegetables. Upon hearing this, she paused to think, then opened her phone and handed it to me. She pressed her lips together and said, "He tried to add me a few times, but I didn't accept." I glanced at the screen. Makoto had sent 5 friend requests. The first was the default system message. The second one read, "This is Makoto." The third, "I have something I want to ask you." Clearly, Willow had ignored the first 3. So the fourth message read, "Is this how all lawyers act? So arrogant and self-righteous." Still, Willow didn't accept. The most recent message said, "I had a stress reaction that night. Willow, please apologize to Attorney Wong on my behalf." I looked at Willow and asked, "Are you not going to respond?" Willow shook her head and said, "No need." I paused to think. Then I tapped reply under Makoto's last message and typed, "No apology needed. George here." I thought that would be the end of it. But a few days later, the law firm received an unexpected visitor. Makoto. Chapter 5. A guest is still a guest, even if uninvited. It's only right to receive them. When I returned to my office after finishing a meeting, he was standing in front of the wall of medals just outside the door. That wall displayed the law firm's history, introductions of practicing lawyers, and several certificates of honor. Makoto stood there, head slightly tilted, eyes scanning the wall from top to bottom. Eventually, his gaze froze on a specific section. It was the partner profiles page. Willow's photo was displayed in the most prominent spot. I stood behind him for several minutes before he finally snapped out of it. I got straight to the point. "Mr. Ito, what brings you here today?" He smiled at me politely and said, "Attorney Wong, you're a smart man. Can you guess why I'm here?" I frowned. This is a law firm. If Mr. Ito came here, it must be for a legal case. Surely you didn't just come by for a sightseeing tour, did you? The smile in his eyes slowly faded. "Inch by inch," he said. "Yes, but let me ask, are all divorce cases here exclusively handled by Attorney Wong?" I leaned back into my chair and calmly sized him up. Makoto was dressed in a finely tailored designer suit. His hair was neatly styled, his expression composed. The gold-rimmed glasses rested just right on the bridge of his nose. Compared to the dejected man that night, this Makoto carried himself with poise and confidence. I let a slight smile curl at the corner of my lips. Divorce isn't that complicated. The facts are usually clear, and the case straightforward. Every lawyer on that wall you saw earlier is more than capable. He stared into my eyes and asked, "What about Willow?" I raised my hand and gestured toward the hallway. "Willow's office is across the hall, but she's in a meeting right now. You'll have to wait a bit." He smiled. "Thanks, Attorney Wong," Makoto said, adjusting his glasses. "But I've already scheduled an appointment at the front desk." At 4:30, Willow returned to her office. The receptionist had probably notified her in advance, because when she saw Makoto, her expression remained neutral. She came over to me first and said, "Honey, wait for me a bit. We'll leave at 5 sharp. I nodded. We had a movie planned for 6 o'clock. Makoto followed Willow into her office. To protect client privacy, it's standard practice to close the door during consultations. I noticed Willow hesitate briefly, then chose to leave the door slightly ajar. Low voices drifted over. It was mostly Makoto talking, with Willow occasionally asking a question. I wasn't interested in eavesdropping, so I took the opportunity to review my work. At 5, the office system ding-talk sent its usual clock-out reminder. I looked up across the hall. They were still talking. Colleagues started to leave one by one. The receptionist came over kindly and asked if I needed dinner ordered for working late. I smiled and shook my head. "No need. I'll be leaving soon." By 5:30, I checked my watch. Most of the staff had already left. Sometime during that interval, the office door across the hall had been shut. Makoto's cheerful laughter echoed from inside. On an otherwise quiet floor, it sounded particularly jarring. At 5:40, I packed my things and left for the cinema. Willow didn't show up, but during the movie, my phone kept lighting up with calls and messages. Annoyed, I switched to airplane mode. Finally, silence. After the credits rolled, I followed the crowd toward the exit, and spotted Willow standing there. I scanning the crowd until they locked on me. She rushed over, her voice anxious and flustered. "Honey, I didn't mean to miss it. I lost track of time and couldn't reach you." I hurried over, but they said I was 20 minutes late and wouldn't let me in. I had no choice but to wait outside for you. There was a faint smell of cigarette smoke clinging to her. I frowned and cut her off. "Let's go home first." Chapter 6. Willow took Makoto's case. She brought it up with me as soon as she got home, carefully saying, "Makoto wants to hire me to represent him in this case. He told me everything that's happened these past few years. That's why I missed the movie. He's actually had a really rough time. He's worked hard and kept his head down for years, thinking it would earn him his father-in-law's respect. But in the end," she added, "but honey, if you're not okay with it, I can decline." As she spoke, she stepped a little closer to me. That's when I caught the smell again. I couldn't help but say, "You reek of smoke." Willow froze for a second, then quickly explained, "Makoto's in a really bad state mentally. He smoked 2 cigarettes. I wanted to stop him, but seeing him like that, I just didn't have the heart to say anything." She said, "I'll go take a shower now." 2 days later, a girl from the admin department came by with a stack of client contracts for stamping. I glanced casually. Makoto's contract was on top, but the representing attorney section was still blank. I asked, "Was this case signed already?" She replied, "Attorney Liu said the signature will be filled in later." She explained, then added, "But the client's already paid the legal fees." I nodded. That afternoon, Willow came by to talk to me directly. She even brought a tablet loaded with background materials on the case. Her tone was serious as she said, "Honey, we can't afford to let Makoto's situation drag on any longer. We need to cut through the mess, like slicing the Gordian knot." I replied, "Willow, I didn't know you were not just a lawyer, but a magician too." She blinked in confusion. "What do you mean?" I chuckled and said, "Makoto's case. All the real estate is under his wife's parents' names, and he's been working for his father-in-law's company all this time without receiving a single cent. But actually, that's lucky. If he had been paid, now he'd have to hand over half of it." I went on, "So he's offering a large sum just to hire you for a case like that. Doesn't that say something? That maybe you've got a little magic up your sleeve?" Willow's face turned pale. She looked at me with a wounded expression and said, "Honey, I haven't signed it yet. If you're really not okay with it, I'll pass it off to another colleague." She clung to my arm and said, "Trust me, okay, I know what I'm doing. I promise, it's just work." I smirked. "See? At first, it was, I can say no. Now, it's only if you really object." The shift in tone says it all. And, of course, the premise is that I have to be the one who really objects. I waved my hand and answered nonchalantly, "Relax, I was just kidding. He already paid. If the paperwork's ready, sign it. In any case, it brings money into our firm." Makoto started showing up at the law firm regularly. At first, He'd still greet me politely, sometimes even going out of his way to say I could sit in on the meetings with Willow if I had any concerns. After I turned him down a few times, he stopped greeting me altogether. He would simply nod from a distance and walk straight into Willow's office. I looked up. The glass door across the hall was always firmly shut. Faint murmurs of laughter drifted through now and then, stretched long at the ends, soft and teasing. I stood and went to the conference room. Today was our monthly team meeting. After reviewing the month's case summaries, a colleague asked, "George, where's your wife? Why didn't she come to the meeting?" "I had a case I wanted to ask her about," I replied. "She's busy." The colleague gave a short, "Oh," then quickly smiled and said, "George, that case you handled last time was brilliant. I read the judgment. The wife didn't get a single advantage. Honestly, that might be the most satisfying divorce case I've seen in years." I chuckled. "Yeah, that one was pretty textbook. The wife conspired with her lover to hide assets, but the court initially ruled there wasn't enough evidence. If she hadn't compromised, I doubt we would have won." Actually, in these kinds of cases, the real difficulty isn't in the legal principles, it's in the judge's leanings. If the roles were reversed, and it was the husband hiding assets with a mistress, it'd be a lot easier to recover the money. So really, this might not be that useful as a reference for you. I paused for a moment and added, "I'll tidy up the case files and share them in the group later." My colleague grinned. "Thanks, George. I've been wanting to learn from it." Just then, Willow pushed the door open and walked in. She asked, "Learning what? Honey, how come you didn't call me to the meeting?" Before I could answer, the colleague laughed and said, "George said you were busy." Willow froze for a second. The colleague then smacked his forehead and added, "We're going over George's case, actually." "Oh, right. Didn't you just take on a new divorce case yourself? You should study the materials in the group too, who knows? Maybe they'll come in handy." Willow hesitated and glanced at me. I smiled and said, "Her case is on a whole different level, probably not applicable." Chapter 7. Makoto's case really hit a wall. What I didn't expect was that Willow would actually come to me for help. We'd been together for years, and it wasn't unusual for us to bounce ideas off each other, tricky cases, ambiguous situations, that kind of thing. It was a way to pool our minds. But ever since she took on Makoto's case, we hadn't had a proper conversation in a while. She looked genuinely puzzled and said, "I read that case you shared in the group the other day. That couple had basically turned into enemies. How did you manage it? How'd you get the wife to give back the hidden assets?" I gave her a meaningful look and replied, "Why? Is Makoto planning to do the same?" Willow instinctively frowned. She said, "Honey, why are you being like this? It's just work. If I were a doctor and the patient was my ex, would I just let them die? Besides, I did ask for your opinion beforehand." I couldn't help but laugh. "Sorry, force of habit. Forgot it's your case." She didn't say anything. I thought for a moment and asked, "Remember the chapter, Attacking by Stratagem, in the Art of War? The highest form of warfare is to win with strategy. Next is to break alliances, then to fight on the battlefield, and the worst tactic is to lay siege to a city. Divorce cases are different from others, they're born of emotion. At their core, they're a battle of feelings." Willow's eyes narrowed slightly. She asked, "So what you're saying is, Makoto should go for psychological warfare?" I smiled and said, "I'm saying, at the right moment, playing the emotional card might just work wonders." Willow seemed lost in thought. A few minutes later, she got up and went to the study. I looked out the window. The sky, which had been calm and starry moments ago, was now swept up in sudden gusts of wind. The trees rustled violently in the deepening night. A storm was coming. Then, Makoto's case suddenly progressed. Word was that his wife had relented and agreed to pay him a considerable settlement. When he came back to the law firm, his whole face was glowing. He even sought me out, proudly declaring, "Attorney Wong, you lost. I just had a talk with my wife. She was so heartbroken. She nearly got down on her knees begging me to forgive her. She even had a massive fight with her father, demanding he pay me compensation." I couldn't help but laugh, blurting out, "So Mr. Ito's finally done kneeling. Huh, gotta admit, once a man stops living off women, his spine gets a little straighter." He froze, then his expression darkened as he said, "There's no need for sarcasm. After all, people are different. Some people, no matter how clever they are, can only wring a few measly paychecks out of someone. But others, even when they're at their lowest, they still linger in someone's heart. Can't help it, I guess." He even shot me a scornful look before turning and walking across the hall. But things weren't going to go that smoothly. Makoto's wife, Maria, showed up at the firm out of the blue. Apparently, Makoto's emotional strategy had worked too well. Her eyes shimmered with tears as she choked out, "I heard my husband hired someone here for a divorce case. I just want to see him, to talk. I want to beg him to give me another chance. We've been husband and wife, doesn't that mean anything anymore? How can he not give me one more chance?" The receptionist brought her to Willow's office, but the moment the door opened, Maria froze where she stood. There was Makoto, one hand resting on the back of Willow's chair, the other propped casually on the desk, his body curled slightly around her, half enclosing her in his arms. His lips curved into a soft smile, his gaze dripping with fondness as he stared at her profile. Willow appeared focused on her computer screen. But that posture, that closeness, no one would mistake that for a normal working relationship. Maria saw it instantly. Her face turned icy cold. She let out a sharp, bitter laugh and said, "Well, no wonder. I was wondering why this pathetic excuse for a man suddenly insisted on divorce. He used to put up with everything, now suddenly it's, I've had enough. So it turns out you've already found someone else. Couldn't wait any longer, could you?" Chapter 8. Makoto suddenly stood up, his voice cracking in shock. "What are you doing here?" Maria clenched her fists so hard her knuckles turned white, then smack, she slapped him hard across the face. She shouted, nearly hysterical, "What am I doing here? Didn't you ask that nice law firm to call me? Told them I had to come sign some kind of agreement? I thought maybe I'd been too selfish in the past, that I owed you an apology. I came here hoping to win you back, to fix things between us, and what were you doing? Look me in the eyes and say it. God must have wanted me to see this. If I hadn't shown up, I never would have witnessed this lovely scene. I nearly let you scam our family out of all that money. My office was right across the hall, so I was one of the first to arrive at the heart of the drama." Other colleagues quickly followed. Willow's office was soon completely surrounded. Willow's expression had turned grim. She stood up, her cheeks burning red, and said, "Watch your mouth. This is a law firm, not a place for you to stir up trouble. If you keep making baseless accusations, I'll sue you for defamation." Makoto also regained his composure and stepped in front of Willow, shouting, "Maria, shut up. Not everyone is like you. You cheated during the marriage and now you want to flip the script and accuse me of having an affair. Lou and I were going over the agreement details. I just leaned in because I couldn't see clearly. What right do you have to throw around slander?" Colleagues began murmuring among themselves, "Come on. Attorney Wong and Attorney Liu are a solid couple. His office is right across the hall, like she'd ever do something like that." Someone else added, "Yeah, cheating right under her husband's nose. That's a stretch." Another chimed in, "Besides, a lawyer hooking up with their client, that'd ruin her career." "No way, just no way." Maria turned to me, suspicion still in her eyes. "You're her husband?" she asked. I nodded and replied firmly, "We've been married for 3 years. She's always been a good wife. What you did today has seriously disrupted the operations of our firm. Once the facts are clear, I expect you to make a public apology to my wife, and to this firm." Willow glanced up at me for a second, but quickly looked away. Maria asked, "And how exactly do we get the facts?" A helpful colleague immediately jumped in. "Our law firm is a formal workplace, everything's under full surveillance. No blind spots." Willow's expression shifted instantly, her voice trembled. "When did we install surveillance?" I gave her a slow smile and said, "Not long ago. We upgraded the office equipment. Didn't I mention it to you?" She stood frozen, face draining of color. "No one told me. Why was it installed all of a sudden?" I smiled again. "Industry regulations. Everything needs to be compliant and transparent now, so we installed them across the board. Guess I forgot to tell you, but no worries. Now we can pull up the footage and prove your innocence." A colleague who had clearly taken initiative handed over a USB drive. "Got all the surveillance footage from her office right here," he said. "Gotta say, this new high-budget surveillance system was top-notch. Not only was the resolution crystal clear, it could even perform facial recognition and auto-sort clips based on detected individuals. From the day Makoto first stepped into the firm, to the moments that led to this ambiguous encounter with Willow, everything was recorded in chronological order, frame by frame." The footage showed Makoto slumped in a chair, cigarette burning down to the filter without him even noticing. His eyes were red, voice hoarse, muttering about all the regrets and humiliation in his life, as if lamenting how far he'd fallen. Willow appeared visibly affected by his emotions. At some point, her eyes had welled up with tears. She wiped them away, her voice soft as she tried to comfort him. But the very next second, before she even finished her sentence, Makoto reached out and pulled her into his arms. Willow didn't resist. She just sat there, stunned, letting him wrap her up tightly in his embrace. Chapter 9. Makoto finally snapped out of it. In a panic, he lunged forward, trying to shut the laptop. He shouted in fury, "Stop watching. None of you are allowed to look." But in the very next moment, smack. Maria slapped him across the face again. She bit her lip and yelled, "You said there was nothing going on between you two. Then how come you were already hugging the first time you met? And you dare say she's not your mistress? Do you take me for an idiot?" But that wasn't the end of it. Suddenly, she kicked off her high heels and stormed over to Willow. Before Willow could react, The sole of the shoe came crashing down, right at her face. Caught completely off guard, Willow was struck and knocked to the ground. Maria pounced on her, raining down slap after slap like a hailstorm. The crisp, cracking sounds echoed through the room. It was a full-on assault. Willow didn't even have a chance to fight back. Maria screamed in rage. "You shameless home-wrecking scum. Can't even keep your hands off each other in the office. God knows what you two have been doing outside it, probably already screwing like rabbits. A slutty little lawyer. Huh? And you had the nerve to threaten me with a defamation lawsuit. You've got some nerve, I'll give you that. You think I'm scared? I swear I'll beat both of you to death." No one moved. Our co-workers exchanged uncertain glances, but no one dared step in. The surveillance footage was still playing. Makoto and Willow drinking from the same cup. Makoto draping his jacket over Willow's shoulders, watching a show together. There wasn't much explicit physical contact, just subtle gestures, sneaking a handhold, one-sided hugs. The most out-of-line moment was when Makoto suddenly leaned in and kissed Willow. She pushed him away, irritated, but not exactly furious. That kind of reluctant rejection only made things look more suspicious. I overheard someone whisper, "Damn, it's actually true." Willow always seemed so proper. Who would have thought she had such a wild side in private? Is it the thrill of doing it under her husband's nose? No wonder she insisted on taking that divorce case, said another. I thought it made more sense to give it to Attorney Wong. Now it all makes sense. Makoto had collapsed to his knees in front of Maria, refusing to get up. He sobbed uncontrollably, snot and tears streaming together, completely broken. Maria looked down at him, too disgusted to even slap him again. My fists were clenched tight, my body trembling. The look on my face was one of total disbelief. After a long pause, I turned stiffly on my heels and stumbled back into my office. Behind me, colleagues sighed and murmured, "Poor George, he's always been such a good guy, kind, brilliant. Can't believe this happened to him." When people finally stepped in to break them up, Willow's face was swollen, with streaks of blood at the corners of her mouth. She struggled to stand and said through gritted teeth, "You hit me. I'll sue you." Maria snorted. "Go ahead. I can afford the medical bills." She scoffed. "Oh, and my family has a legal team too. I'll have them contact you." And with that, she snatched the USB drive and left. Willow spent the next week lying in bed at home. She winced in pain, drenched in cold sweat, but still tried to explain herself. "Honey, I didn't cheat. Please believe me. Yes, I got a little too close to Makoto, but I swear I never did anything to betray you. I just felt bad for him. He kept telling me how miserable he was, and I couldn't help it. I just felt sorry for him. I know it was wrong. Actually, I'd already made up my mind. Once I helped him finalize the divorce, I was going to cut all contact. I just didn't expect things to turn out like this. I really regret it. I'm sorry. Honey, will you still want me?" But the domino effect clearly didn't end there. The Lin family moved with startling efficiency. Within just 3 or 4 days they'd sorted the entire flash drive, spliced every over-the-line shot together, and even dredged up an old fling the two had shared. The lawyer's letter went out, and at the very same time a video was dumped online. Its headline screamed, "Contrasting femme fatale attorney willingly becomes the other woman, glamorous legal beauty by day, wild cheater by night." Shocking. Celebrity lawyer Willow falls for a married man, dry Tinder meets raging fire as both spouses stray. The next post read, "When your husband has a lawyer ex, how I got caught in a pig butchering scam all these years." I was left speechless. All I could say was, the rich really do play in their own league. Their legal team acted with lightning speed, and their PR unit was every bit as ruthless. Chapter 10. Willow's Perspective. When I received the notice for an emergency shareholders meeting, I knew it was all over. I walked into the conference room, braving everyone's strange, judgmental stares. For the first time ever, all the shareholders and senior partners were present. In the past, they always had excuses not to attend meetings, but today, every single one of them was here. I saw George sitting off to the side, his expression unreadable. Of course, George, like me, was one of the firm's partners. They didn't bother with the usual polite formalities. Instead, someone pushed a stack of documents across the table toward me. I glanced down. It was the original partner agreement I had signed, along with a notice of breach of contract. The shareholder representative spoke, his tone devoid of emotion. "Attorney Liu, I'm sure you've seen the viral video online. Your inappropriate conduct with a client, especially a married one, has severely violated legal ethics and professional discipline. It has caused irreparable damage to the firm's public image. As of today, you are formally expelled from the partnership. In accordance with the contract you signed, we will be pursuing legal action for damages." Instinctively, I looked up at George. He sat there calmly, as though the person being sentenced wasn't his wife, but just some stranger. I tried to read something, anything, in his eyes. Pain, sorrow, grief, even anger would have been something, but there was nothing. How could this be? It wasn't supposed to be like this. George, why are you looking at me with such cold eyes? A crushing wave of regret rose from deep within and swallowed me whole. When had it all started going wrong? That day at the party when Makoto reappeared, I didn't think much of it. In fact, part of me felt contemptuous. My husband was so good to me. He was brilliant, capable, far superior to Makoto, that freeloading simp. I wasn't blind. How could I possibly be attracted to someone like him? But then, when Makoto exposed his wounds in front of everyone, pouring out his pain, I suddenly felt a strange pang of emotion. Even I didn't understand what exactly it was. But George, he picked up on it immediately. He looked at me and asked, "Willow, what are you upset about?" That question brought me back to my senses. I tried to pull myself back in line. Makoto sent multiple friend requests. I ignored them all. I kept reminding myself to maintain boundaries with an ex. But what I didn't expect was that Makoto would come back again. And when he forcefully pulled me into his arms, that was the moment I lost control. That day, I missed the movie I had promised to see with George, and I told George my first lie. The moment it left my lips, I felt disgusted with myself. I had become the very type of woman I used to look down on. Just another pathetic person who threw away her dignity. Makoto had broken through my mental defenses. He kept bringing up our past. He even recreated small gestures from our old relationship, as if trying to stir up long-forgotten feelings. But it had been nearly 10 years since we broke up. The things that had felt so romantic in my 20s now just felt awkward and misplaced, childish, even, compared to George's steady, grounded love, his quiet companionship and reliability. Makoto's theatrics couldn't even come close. And the worst part was, Makoto and I both knew we were each in a marriage. There was a clear line between us, a boundary we should never have crossed. But that day, when we went down to the parking garage, in the dark stairwell landing, he suddenly pinned me against the wall and kissed me, hard. I've replayed that moment in my mind countless times since. Sometimes, I even felt grateful that it happened in the stairwell and not in the office, because if George had seen that scene, how much would it have broken him? In that moment, my mind went completely blank. By the time I realized what was happening, my body had already surrendered to instinctive desire. Responding to his kiss, he was like a wild beast, holding me tight while his hands tugged at my dress. And then, George's eyes suddenly appeared in my mind, those calm, unwavering eyes. As he recited that line from The Art of War, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Next is to break alliances through diplomacy. Then, to fight in the field. The worst strategy is to lay siege to walled cities. I snapped awake. Without thinking, I shoved Makoto away. He stared at me in stunned silence. Then finally asked, "What's that supposed to mean?" He sneered and said, "What? Now you're saving yourself for your husband? Willow, stop pretending. If you were really so faithful, why are you even here with me?" I ran. Panicked, ashamed, I fled. George once said that Makoto was my ideal lover. But there's no such thing as an ideal lover. It's like how we endlessly long for our childhood, our youth. And in old age, we reminisce over the life we once lived. But the moonlight always shines on the past we can never return to, not on the person who came later. I kept telling myself, this has to stop, before the point of no return. I had to pull back. Just wait until Makoto's case was over. Then I'd cut ties completely. I'd go back to George. I'd put everything back on track. But George never gave me that chance. Why do I say it was George who didn't give me the chance? After announcing the firm's decision to punish me, the shareholders left one by one. George was the last to walk past me. Then he stopped. He pulled a sheet of paper from his folder and handed it to me. I looked down. Divorce papers. He had already signed them. I let out a bitter laugh. And finally asked the question that had been lodged in my heart. Chapter 11. Willow asked me when I had installed the surveillance cameras. I rubbed my chin and thought for a moment. I said, probably right after you rejected Makoto's friend request for the 5th time. The corners of her eyes reddened. Yet a self-deprecating smile slowly emerged on her lips. She said, "George, so you never trusted me from the very beginning." I looked into her eyes and smiled. I said, "Then Willow, can you tell me why you didn't dare to accept Makoto's friend request?" Yes, didn't dare. In psychology, the essence of avoidance is fear. Willow's fear stemmed from something she understood deep inside. Only by staying away from Makoto could she remain loyal to our marriage. But I couldn't accept that kind of conditional loyalty. Nor could I guarantee that in the long years ahead, Makoto would never show up again, or some other Kento or Naruto wouldn't appear. So, I replied to Makoto's message. I chose to bring the battlefield to the front lines, fully prepared for everything to fall apart. Tears shimmered in Willow's eyes. She slowly lowered her head, burying her whole face in the crook of her arm, her shoulders shaking violently. I heard her choking softly, "George, This is entrapment, you can't do this. I could have protected our marriage, I really could have. George, how can you be so heartless? Suddenly, she stood up and threw herself into my arms, clutching me tightly as she trembled and pleaded. Honey, can we not get divorced? I'll listen to you from now on. I swear I won't make another mistake. Please, give me one more chance. And I really didn't betray you, I never slept with him. I've stayed loyal to you. Didn't we say we wanted a child? Let's have one. Okay, the three of us, let's just live a good life together. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. With a smack, I slapped her across the face and yelled, What? Do you think I'm some pathetic loser? Do you only throw things away once they've rotted and started to stink? Sign the divorce papers or don't, doesn't matter. Filing the lawsuit is just a formality. What came after was simple, just procedural stuff. Because of the nature of our work, Willow and I had signed a prenuptial agreement before marriage, keeping our finances completely separate. So when it came time to divide things, it was surprisingly straightforward. And deep down, Willow understood that too. She signed fairly quickly. The only asset we hadn't notarized was the marital home we lived in. I originally suggested selling it and discussing how to split the proceeds, but she chose to give it up. She said, George, it was my fault after all. Just keep it. I could never be as cold and ruthless as you. I didn't refuse. I don't turn down money. The day we picked up our divorce certificates at the Civil Affairs Bureau, she suddenly called out to me. She said, Honey, if only we hadn't gone to that party that day. Wouldn't that have been great? We'd still be doing fine. 3 meals a day, 4 seasons a year, everything steady and simple, maybe even a child. If only all those messy people had never shown up. How nice that would have been. I started the car. I said, There's no such thing as if. Chapter 12. After everything, my colleagues gossiped with me about what happened next. There was no doubt that Willow was fired from the law firm, and because the short video had gone viral, the whole industry knew about the incident. Her personal reputation was completely ruined. Not a single firm was willing to take her in. Honestly, it was understandable. Every profession values its reputation. With a history like hers, no one would risk hiring her just to have her bring disaster upon them later. I'd seen the penalty clause in her contract. Given the income we'd earned over the years, it wasn't exactly an amount she couldn't pay back. But now that this scandal had broken out and she couldn't even land a job, who knows how many years it'll take for her to pay it all off, if ever. One of my colleagues sighed and said, Willow was actually quite capable. What a pity. How many years does it take just to study our way into this profession? And how many more years to build a client base and case history? It's all gone now. Decades of effort down the drain, another colleague added. And that guy, he ended up even worse. I leaned in to listen. Someone scoffed and said, he was about to receive a huge settlement that day. But the Lin family doesn't mess around. They had someone beat the crap out of him and kicked him out of the house with nothing. Literally nothing. They even stripped him naked and threw him out. Left him with nothing but his boxers. Nearly froze to death. Someone else said. But honestly, the Lin family went easy on him. They were pissed. Sure, but if they really wanted to destroy him, they could have saddled him with a pile of debt. The fact that he walked away without that was already merciful. I thought for a moment and said, well, now they're both single. Guess nothing's in their way anymore. Everyone burst into louder laughter. One of them said, George, you don't know the half of it, do you? Willow actually went looking for Makoto afterward. She said it was his fault for dragging her into this mess and demanded he compensate her losses, or she'd sue him. Makoto was already barely hanging on, and when he heard that, he was so mad his nose almost twisted off his face. He looked like a demon that day. Slapped her right across the face and yelled at her for being trash and trying to pass the blame. Willow was stunned, hair all messy. Looked like a total lunatic. It was a total catfight. Ugly as hell. I actually got a video of that day. Secret recording. George, wanna see it? I couldn't help teasing him. You're following them closer than I am. He waved me off and said, come on, life's already hard enough. If there's free drama, why not enjoy the show? For a second, I felt like he actually made a fair point, so I chuckled and said, then how about a free feast tonight? You in? He let out a cheer and immediately ran into the office, shouting, George is treating us to a big dinner tonight. No slowpokes allowed. I transmigrated into the story of a novel, where the original character could only watch as his wife cheated on him with another man. Too afraid to speak up, but I'm no pushover. Right from the start, I decisively divorced her. Who would have thought she'd refuse to accept it, even provoking me by saying, if you've got the guts, go find someone else too. I'd never heard such a ridiculous dare in my life, so I granted her wish, and spent every day fooling around with a woman even more stunning than she was. When she went on a relaxing getaway with her childhood sweetheart, I was racing cars at the mountaintop with my gorgeous new date. When she partied at the club with him, I stayed out all night watching fireworks with my girl. She posted intimate vacation selfies with him, so I uploaded a photo holding hands with the other woman. Then she broke down. "George," she snapped. "I told you to find a woman, but you went and found a rich socialite." Chapter 1. I secretly installed surveillance cameras in the villa's living room. When my wife brought her childhood friend back home, I received an alert immediately. I rushed back, only to see her half leaning on the guy, while he carefully fed her a glass of water. Their posture was ambiguous, their eyes lingering too long on each other. My face turned completely dark as I spoke coldly. "If I'd come home any later, would I have caught you two making out?" They both froze instantly. Willow sobered up on the spot. Seeing my grim expression, she hurried to explain. "Honey, I just drank a bit too much at a friend's gathering. Makoto was just giving me a ride home on the way. Don't overthink it." I let out a short, scornful laugh. "Oh, just giving you a ride? And did you just happen to invite him in for coffee too? Or are you the one telling me to let him in to watch my turtle do taxes?" Willow's face turned ghostly pale. She shot up, angrily pointing at me. "George, what's your problem? Haven't you had enough of this? Makoto and I grew up together. I've always treated him like a little brother." I took a step forward, eyes narrowing as I stared at the timid man hiding behind her. "Little brother, you think I'm a fool?" Willow could sense the danger in my gaze. She quickly threw her arms out to shield him and asked, What are you trying to do?" Seeing the wariness on her face, I laughed. "You're hanging out with him every other day, and now you've even brought him home, and I'm still not supposed to overthink it." I glanced at the numbers floating above her head. Cheating probability, 40%. Cheating incidence, 0. That's the cheatability I gained when I transmigrated. If that second number ever ticks up to 1, with my temper, I'd destroy that damn pretentious coquette on the spot. Chapter 2. I glared at Makoto and snapped. "Aren't you leaving?" "What? Planning to spend the night here now?" Makoto flinched, but a flash of defiance flickered in his eyes. "Go, George. Don't get the wrong idea. Willow was drunk. I was just bringing her back. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Please don't blame Willow." He glanced at Willow with a pitiful look on his face. I ignored him and said coldly, "If you know it's your fault, then get the hell out. Or do you want me to throw you out myself?" A grown man acting like some pretentious coquette, it's fucking disgusting. Makoto looked pitifully at Willow, the kind of face that screamed, "Please protect me." Honestly, he could have won awards for that look. Willow sighed, clearly exasperated. "Makoto, you'd better go for now. Thanks for today." Makoto's face turned pale. I understand. "Willow, please don't fight with him because of me. Get out." My eyes were sharp with cold fury. Makoto shuddered involuntarily, said no more, and fled. Once he left, I pulled out the divorce papers. "Willow, if you're so eager to betray me, just sign these and I'll let you go." To my surprise, Willow grabbed the agreement and tore it to pieces. "George, I don't have time for your hot and cold games. There's nothing between me and Makoto, and I'm not divorcing you." I gave her a mocking look. "Nothing? Huh? You're glued to him every day." "Nothing. You were practically all over each other just now. If I hadn't walked in, would he have taken care of you all the way to the bedroom?" When I first transmigrated here, her cheating probability was just 20%. Now, after a single week, it's up to 40%. Even the stock market doesn't rise that fast. "Willow, don't fucking disgust me." Willow averted her eyes, clearly guilty. "Fine. Let's both cool off. I'll stay at a friend's tonight. We can talk tomorrow." I didn't stop her, but gave her a warning. "Willow, I'm not going to chain you to my side, but as long as we're still married, if you dare betray me, you and that bastard won't walk away unharmed." It's not like I had any real affection for Willow, but on paper, she was still my wife, and I'm no cuckold. You're insane." She was shaking with rage as she slammed the door and stormed out. Chapter 3. After Willow left, my eyes fell on the photo wall filled with pictures of us. Fragments of the original George's memory started flooding in. "Willow, even if you and Makoto grew up together, you're my wife now. Ever since he returned from abroad, you've been stuck to him every day. Do you think that's normal? George, Makoto is like a brother to me. What's wrong with spending time together? If your imagination runs wild, that's your problem. If there were really something between me and Makoto, would I have married you?" That was 2 weeks ago. Makoto used depression as an excuse and called Willow over with just one phone call. She never came back that night. The hilarious part? That day happened to be their wedding anniversary. The next day, naturally, they had a massive fight. Makoto had only been back in the country for about a month, but he had already become the cause of nearly daily arguments between them. The original George accused her, questioned her, but still loved her deeply, and every time, he chose to forgive her, again and again. He just couldn't let go. I could almost see the pain and struggle in his eyes. But Willow, she drove him mad, then stood by coldly watching him spiral. Finally, she climbed onto the moral high ground and accused him of being emotionally unstable, said he was twisted and saw filth in everything. In truth, before Makoto returned. Their relationship had been stable. Back in college, George had always liked her. As the Liu and Wang families began working more closely together in business, the two families often dined together. George and Willow gradually got to know each other. Maybe because they were the same age, they always sat next to each other at those dinners. They never ran out of things to talk about. Willow had that sweet older girl next door vibe, gentle and caring. At the dinner table, she would constantly pick food for George. He often skipped breakfast, so she'd bring him an extra one every morning. Once, George hurt his leg while playing basketball. Willow was devastated. She cried like a fragile flower in the rain. He was hospitalized for a week. Willow stayed with him the entire time. That's how they slowly got together. Their dating years were the happiest time of George's life. Every piece of clothing, down to his socks and underwear, was chosen by Willow, and the gifts George gave Willow back then, they could easily pile up into a small mountain. Chapter 4. From the moment they met in college, 3 years of dating, 5 years of marriage. Even though it started out as a union between the Wang and Liu families, they genuinely fell in love. They were the perfect couple in their friends' eyes. They had even planned to try for a child this year. Willow knew George loved her to his core. No matter how furious he got, he'd never bring himself to let her go. Whenever things blew up between them, she would always strike where it hurt. George, you're always suspicious, overthinking everything. I'm exhausted. What's the point of a marriage like this? If you really can't stand it anymore, then let's just divorce. And every time, George would instantly cave, turn into a total doormat, apologizing endlessly, telling her it was only because he loved her too much. The most pathetic moment? He actually got on his knees and begged her not to leave him. Until a week ago, George had a high fever. Not only did Willow refuse to stay and take care of him, she rushed off the moment Makoto called again. Devastated, George downed an entire bottle of Baijiu in one go. When he opened his eyes again, I was here. Before she actually cheated, I made the decisive move to file for divorce. But this woman, she played dirty, flat out refused. This past week, she didn't go near Makoto again, and instead focused all her attention on me. She was even unusually enthusiastic in bed, clearly trying to please me. She started getting up early every morning to cook me breakfast, something she never used to do. I thought maybe she'd truly changed, and considering how stunning she really is, I figured maybe it wouldn't be so bad to give it a chance. But it's only been a week, and she already couldn't hold it in anymore. Chapter 5. Willow took a taxi to her best friend Maria's place. Maria opened the door and joked. Fighting with your simp husband again? I told you already, never be too good to a man. You've spoiled George too much. He dares argue with you now. Next time, he might raise his hand. Just stay here for a while and let him learn a lesson. Hearing that, Willow felt her own temper flaring. Maria, you're totally right. All I did was let Makoto give me a ride home, and he completely lost it, even kicked Makoto out. It's the 21st century. Am I not allowed to have male friends? And Makoto is my childhood friend, for God's sake. Maria pulled her onto the couch. Seriously, what kind of grown man is that petty? Poor Makoto, I bet he was hurt. If you ask me, if George were half as mature as Makoto, you wouldn't be so exhausted. Willow clutched Maria's hand tightly like she'd found a soulmate. Maria, you're the only one who gets me. Maria gave her a mocking look from the corner of her eye, though her voice was all sweetness. Of course I do. Makoto must be devastated today. You know, it's been ages since our childhood crew got together. What if I organize a hangout tomorrow? Cheer him up a little. Willow, finally smiling again, nodded. All right, Maria, I'll let you handle it. Maria looked into Willow's eyes and grinned. You know, Willow, Makoto's had a thing for you since we were kids. We all knew it. He's sweet, thoughtful. Maybe it's time you. Willow immediately dropped her smile, face turning serious. Maria, don't say that. I've always seen him as a little brother, and even if George and I are fighting, I still love him. Maria backed off with a wave of her hand. All right, I'll shut up. But before she could finish her sentence, she rushed to the bathroom, retching. Maria, what's wrong? Willow called out. Maria leaned over the sink, back turned. It's nothing. My stomach's just acting up. Chapter 6. During this time, I ramped up my company's investments in short-form drama content and AI large language models. In my previous life, my company had focused on exactly these two sectors. Even though I started late here, I could still get in while the pot was hot. And in this world, these industries were still blue ocean, wide open. Almost no competition. That night, I was entertaining a major client at the Daju Club. After sending the client off, I saw a social media post from Maria. They were singing karaoke in a private room, at the very same Daju Club. I didn't need to guess, Willow and Makoto were definitely there. When I got to the private room, I walked in right as Willow and Makoto were drinking a linked arms toast egged on by their childhood friends. And right after that, Maria led the chant, "Kiss, kiss." The group echoed her, "Kiss, kiss." The two were leaning closer and closer. Willow's cheating probability was now at a blazing 65%. Heh, jumping 25 points in a single day. Incredible. Rage instantly consumed me. I kicked the door open. Everyone turned to look. Willow's face went pale when she saw me. "B-babe, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt your romantic toast and make-out session?" Makoto stood up, trying to play innocent. "George, it's not what it looks like. We were just playing a game." The provocation in his eyes was crystal clear, as if I were still the same pathetic pushover as the original George. "Game my ass." Smack, 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 smack. I slapped him 4 or 5 times in a row, back and forth, then landed a solid kick to his stomach, sending him flying. Thud. Makoto crashed to the ground, curled up and groaning in pain. His delicate little pretty boy face was now swollen like a pig's head. It all happened in a flash. No one in the room had time to react. The place was dead silent. Everyone was shocked, speechless. Chapter 7. "Ah, George, how dare you, you fucking simp. Who gave you the guts?" Maria shrieked, rushing at me like she was about to scratch me up. Smack. I slapped her to the floor without hesitation. "You bitch," I snarled. "Makoto comes back and suddenly you're organizing group hangouts every other day. You think I don't see what you're scheming?" Panic flashed in Maria's eyes. She went completely silent, not daring to make another sound. Willow rushed over, worried I might do something even more extreme. "Honey, you've got it all wrong. Can we please talk about this at home?" She was clearly scared. The husband who used to worship her, who was always obedient, was now someone she couldn't recognize. It terrified her. Just then, Makoto spoke up again, voice full of fake remorse. "Willow, this is all my fault. I never should have come back. Please, don't blame George. That false modesty, that fake-ass guilt, made my rage flare up again. You pretentious little bastard," I snapped, still putting on a show. We're both men, don't think I don't know exactly what game you're playing. Let me put it this way, if you've got the balls, convince Willow to divorce me. Otherwise, every time I see you, I'll beat your ass. You just love picking up the scraps I've already tossed aside." Pathetic piece of shit. Willow's eyes blazed with fury. She shouted, "George, that's enough. When are you going to stop? How long are you planning to keep making a scene?" I shoved her away. "If you really want to shack up with that damn pretentious coquette, then divorce me, but don't act like a saint when you're playing the slut." The entire room went dead silent. I looked around. Her so-called childhood friends all dropped their gazes the moment I met their eyes. No one dared look at me. Pfft, what a goddamn mess. I'd thrown punches, shouted enough, vented most of my anger. Time to go. I turned and left. Behind me, Willow stood there trembling with rage, screaming at my back, "George, I'm not divorcing you. If you've really got the guts, go find another woman. Stop orbiting around me all the time." I paused briefly at the door, then walked away without looking back. Chapter 8. I stepped out of the club and had just sat in the driver's seat when a woman burst out from the entrance, yanked open the passenger door, and climbed in. I blinked in confusion. She spoke urgently. "Please, drive. My boyfriend just maxed out my card spending over $1 million on gifts for his so-called goddess." I stormed in and ruined their little party, nearly cracked both their heads open. "If we don't leave now, they're going to chase after me." Her words left me stunned, but I didn't ask questions. I slammed on the gas and sped off. Only after we'd driven far enough did I get a good look at the woman next to me. Long, slender legs, smooth and fair, curves in all the right places, a face so stunning it was practically otherworldly. She radiated a lazy, aristocratic charm. Those big eyes still gleamed with the thrill of chaos. I swallowed and asked cautiously, "So, where do you want to go, beautiful?" She looked me up and down for a moment, then smiled seductively. Want to take a little detour with me?" I smirked. "What? You think I'm scared of one woman? Tell me where." 40 minutes later, we arrived at Phoenix Mountain. From the mountaintop, you could see nearly half the city. She stepped out of the car and leaned lazily against the hood. Her smile was radiant against the glittering night skyline. She was, without question, the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen smile. I lit a cigarette, exhaled slowly, and asked, "According to what you said, your boyfriend betrayed you. Shouldn't you be upset? Why are you smiling?" "Why would I be upset?" she replied with a grin. "This is my rebirth. My ex-boyfriend, just a materialistic loser, a manipulative jerk, a full-blown gold digger. He used my money, my house, even my cards, and then spent it all on another woman. You tell me, is that even human?" The former owner, no. Wait, I used to be a total hopeless romantic. Naive. Soft-hearted. Blindly in love. I got played like a damn fiddle. But luckily, I woke up today. That scumbag just got what he deserved. And this is just the beginning. I've got way more in store for those two trash bags. Halfway through my smoke, it slipped from my fingers and hit the ground. Former owner. Wait, did she just say former owner? No way. Was this drop-dead gorgeous woman also someone who'd transmigrated here? A fellow transmigrant? I instantly felt a sense of connection, like meeting someone from your hometown in a foreign land. Damn right, that's a rebirth. Congrats. She beamed with delight. Thanks. I've got a surprise for you. Before I could ask what she meant, she closed her eyes and whispered. 3, 2, 1. Boom, boom, boom. Fireworks erupted across the entire city. The sky exploded in gold and crimson. The city's glowing lights suddenly became background noise. Dozens of brilliant fireworks tore through the night, silver sparks raining down like stardust. Some even dusted her eyelashes like crushed diamonds. It was dazzling, but still couldn't compare to the woman standing beside me. The night was dark, the air cool, and we were alone, a man and a woman. The air between us turned subtly charged. An hour later, the fireworks ended. At her request, I drove her to Tianlan Villa District, a city's most exclusive neighborhood for the ultra-rich. We talked a lot along the way, hobbies, interests, outlook on life. Surprisingly, our views aligned shockingly well. As we arrived, she gave me a bright smile. Actually, today's my birthday. My scumbag boyfriend snuck out halfway through, so I ran after him. And honestly, having you around on the most important day of my life made it really special. Good night, Mr. George. She turned and walked away. I just stared at her graceful figure, stunned, unable to snap out of it. I searched the original George's memories for any clue, but came up empty. Still, someone who could live in Tianlan Villas and set off citywide fireworks for their birthday. She clearly had power and connections. Finding out who she was through her license plate would be a piece of cake. No wonder I'd felt like we were being followed on the way up, probably a security escort. I pulled out my phone and searched for any news about fireworks that night. Nothing. Not a single post. Interesting. I didn't dwell on it. I drove away from the Villa District, not back to the apartment I shared with Willow, but to the place I used to live before we got married. By the time I got there, it was almost dawn. I looked at my phone, 99 missed calls from Willow. I turned it off without hesitation. I was exhausted, collapsed into bed and slept like the dead. Chapter 9. At the Blue Sky Villa, Willow stared at her phone, trembling with anger as she heard the automated, "The number you dialed is powered off" message. She'd sat in the living room all night without sleeping. She looked utterly drained. Just then, Maria called. "Willow, George went way too far this time. You have to make him apologize properly to Makoto. I've told you before, you've spoiled him too much." Willow's eyes burned with frustration. "Maria, I think you're right, but I can't reach him. He didn't come home all night." Maria's voice suddenly spiked in volume. "What? He had the nerve to stay out all night? This is outrageous. Willow, you've been way too soft on him all these years. That's why he doesn't respect you anymore. I'm telling you, Makoto's really upset. Why don't we take him on a short trip? Help him relax and teach George a lesson at the same time. Just because a woman's married doesn't mean she's not allowed to have male friends, right? If you let him off the hook this time, he'll only become more arrogant and unbearable. How are you supposed to keep living like that?" Willow said angrily. "There's nothing going on between me and Makoto. George is just too petty, like he's not even a man." "All right, book the tickets. Let's leave today." Chapter 10. During that time, I didn't go back home. I was completely done with Willow. I didn't return a single one of her calls or messages. In this world, both short-form dramas and AI language models were still emerging industries. If I wanted to carve out a place in the market, I had to move fast. Willow and I had signed a prenuptial agreement before marriage. Our companies were independently operated, and there was no shared marital property to dispute. All we had was a few years' worth of salaries as mutual income. So whether we divorced or not, it wouldn't affect my plans to rapidly scale my company. With the current strength of the Wang family, we could fully handle the short drama sector ourselves, but large language model AI, that would require massive upfront investment, and the Wang family couldn't afford to fund independent R&D. I had to find a big corporation to partner with. I spent days knocking on doors, trying to pitch collaboration opportunities to major players. Every single one turned me down. Even my parents and the rest of the Wang family urged me to give up. Just when things looked hopeless, one of a city's top elite families, the Su family, agreed to partner with us. They committed billions in capital and entered into a strategic alliance with the Wang family. The entire family celebrated. If the deal went through, the Wang family's influence would level up dramatically. On the day of the contract signing, I led my team to welcome the Su Group representatives. Rumor had it the reclusive heiress, Anna Su, the the most mysterious young lady of the Sue family, would personally attend to sign the contract. A real high society debutante. But when I saw who stepped out of the car, I was stunned. It was her. The jaw-droppingly gorgeous woman who had dragged me to the mountaintop that night to watch fireworks. Her professional suit didn't hide her beauty, it amplified it. She was an absolute goddess. Anna gave me a charming smile. "What's wrong, Mr. Wang? Don't recognize me?" I immediately grasped her soft little hand. "So you're a fellow soul traveler?" "Huh." I knew it had to be someone with great vision who saw the potential in this project. Anna looked at me oddly, amused and suspicious all at once. I didn't explain further and quickly invited the Sue Group executives into the meeting room. The cooperation process went incredibly smoothly. Anna used project supervision as an excuse to visit every few days, and often invited me out to dinner. Naturally, I was more than happy to oblige, and slowly, the two of us grew closer. Chapter 11. Of course I knew Willow had gone on a trip with Makoto. She was probably doing it to provoke me, posting daily updates with photos of the two of them. There were shots of them holding hands on the beach, feeding each other. Even cheek-to-cheek selfies that left nothing to the imagination. Naturally, I wasn't going to just sit back and take it. I asked Anna to help me take a photo, us holding hands while shopping. Once we got a good shot, I posted it to my social feed, set to visible only to Willow. Not even 10 minutes passed before Willow called. After thinking for a moment, I picked up. The second I answered, her voice exploded through the phone. "George, you asshole, you cheating piece of shit. You go out and find another woman the moment I'm away. How could you do this to me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, so you can go find someone, but I can't." "Willow, you don't get to play the double standard card. Weren't you the one who told me to find someone else?" She went silent for a moment on the other end, then finally let out a long sigh. "Honey, you sound like a totally different person now. What happened to the men you used to be?" "I'm tired, George, really tired. All this suspicion and fighting. Can we stop? That woman, she's obviously just using you. Be careful, she's nothing but a gold digger." Heh, calling a real rich heiress a gold digger. Only Willow could manage that kind of Olympic-level delusion. I didn't bother correcting her. I replied, "Willow, maybe you should be more worried about yourself. The Ito family's overseas investments flopped, they're on the verge of bankruptcy. And suddenly Makoto comes running back to cozy up to you. You don't think that's a little suspicious?" "That's enough," Willow snapped. "I know you've always had it out for Makoto, but he's kind, sincere, and I won't let you insult him." At that moment, it finally clicked for me. Willow in full love brain mode was dumber than a bag of rocks. My patience was running thin too. "Willow, cut the damn whining already. Are you done or not? I'll ask one last time, are you divorcing me or not? If not, I'll file a lawsuit and settle it in court. Do whatever you want." And with that, she hung up. Chapter 12. Over the next few days, I continued to post a series of intimate photos with Anna on my social feed. Sure enough, Willow couldn't sit still anymore. She finally decided to come back. She called me. "Babe, I'm at the cafe downstairs from your office. Can we talk?" I responded flatly. "Wait a bit. I'll come down once I finish this batch of documents." About 10 minutes later, I sat across from Willow at the table and went straight to the point. "I don't have time to waste on back and forth. If you agree to a divorce, we can go to the civil office right now and get it done. If you want to talk about anything else, don't bother. See you in court." Willow's expression changed instantly. She looked at me in disbelief. "George, are you serious right now?" I looked at her like she was an idiot. "What, do I look like I'm joking?" Her face twisted with sadness. "George, you loved me so much. Why do you suddenly feel like a complete stranger? I really don't get it. Just because I got a little close to Makoto, you're divorcing me? Tell me the truth, is it because of that gold digger?" I took out the photo Makoto had sent me a couple days ago, the two of them lying in the same bed, and slammed it in front of her. "Willow, weren't you always saying he's like your little brother? A little brother who shares your bed? You disgust me." The moment she saw the photo, Willow's face went pale. She rushed toward me in a panic. Babe, you misunderstood. I was drunk that night. He tried to touch me, but I pushed him away. I swear, I didn't do anything wrong." I shoved her off me, my eyes full of contempt. "Willow, you really think I believe that? You crossed the line. You're tainted. I'm someone who needs emotional cleanliness. How could we ever go back to what we were? You're a woman who doesn't know what boundaries are. A compulsive liar. Meeting you, that's my bad luck." Willow lunged at me again, pale and crying her eyes out, shaking her head desperately. "Babe, please, I didn't lie to you. I really pushed him away. I didn't cheat. I messed up, but, please." Of course, I knew she hadn't cheated. Her cheating probability was at 90%, but actual incidents, 0. She held the line this time. But what about next time? "Willow, You know I've got this photo now. Even if I take this to court, it'll be an easy win. And once the divorce becomes public, so does the scandal. Your Liu family's reputation, gone. You've got two choices. Come with me to the registry office right now and settle this peacefully. Or lose everything when it goes to trial. This offer. I'm only making it once. Willow's father was a profit-driven businessman, but her mother, a university professor, extremely concerned about her public image. If she found out about all this, Willow would be done as the Liu family's heir, and the Lius had more than one daughter. Willow had no other way out. She followed me, numb, robotic, through the entire divorce process. Outside the civil affairs office, she remained standing there in a daze. She stared in the direction I left, frozen in place, still unable to understand how two people who once loved each other so much ended up like this. After a long while, she finally collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Chapter 13. Over the following month, the Wang Group gradually severed all business ties with the Liu family. Of course, this wasn't just out of revenge. The more important reason was strategic. Our company had started shifting its focus toward short-form drama production and AI large language models. We were also slowly expanding into areas like smart home tech, AI healthcare, and autonomous driving. Our long-term vision: to become a top-tier technology corporation. Meanwhile, the Liu Corporation was steadily going downhill. Willow spent her days partying, drinking, and goofing off with Makoto and Maria. She barely touched the company anymore, and with Mr. Ito seriously ill, he was in no shape to manage the business either. Eventually, under the coaxing of both Maria and Makoto, Willow appointed Makoto as the company's vice president. Makoto basically had full control of the business from that point on. When I heard the news, I nearly burst out laughing. The biggest reason the Ito family was collapsing was simple: Makoto was incompetent. Putting him in charge of a company, that's not just risky, it's suicidal. Once a woman gets blinded by love, it's like her IQ drops to zero. The day I received my divorce certificate, Anna insisted on celebrating. She booked a table at Cloud Summit Restaurant, a high-end rooftop place in the city. Halfway through dinner, we unexpectedly ran into Willow and Makoto. Just my luck, what a buzzkill. Willow stormed over to our table, fuming. So it's true, huh George? You rushed to divorce me just to be with this gold digger. Be honest, were you two messing around behind my back this whole time? She glared furiously at Anna. Someone as pretty as you, and you're still shameless. You disgust me. She grabbed a half glass of red wine from the table, and threw it at Anna. I moved fast and pulled Anna toward me, but some of the wine still splashed on her clothes. My rage exploded on the spot. I raised my hand and slapped Willow hard across the face. Willow, what the fuck is wrong with you? She stood there in complete shock. She never expected I'd hit her in public. Makoto rushed over to comfort her, but she shoved him away, covering her red, swollen cheek. She glared at me with disbelief. George, you hit me, for that gold digger. I want the truth. Are you two sleeping together or not? My expression turned cold and sharp. Willow, I have proof that you were the one cheating, and now you want to throw shit at me. We're already divorced. Whatever I do with Anna is none of your damn business. But what you did just now, you'd better apologize to her, or I swear I won't let it go. By this point, everyone in the restaurant had turned to look. Whispers spread like wildfire. The moment they heard Willow had cheated, the crowd was buzzing. Willow heard the murmurs. Then she looked at my furious face. Her arrogance faltered. I have to apologize to her. Based on what? Based on the fact that she's the sole heir of the Su Group. Anna Su. Chapter 14. The Su family was one of the top elite families in a city, and Anna, as their sole heir, had always been heavily protected. When everyone realized who Anna really was, shock and disbelief spread across their faces. Willow froze. Then, as if something suddenly clicked in her brain, she scoffed mockingly. Enough. George. You're seriously making up ridiculous lies just to get back at me? What? You think someone like you could actually land a rich heiress? Makoto couldn't hold his tongue either. Exactly, Willow. I think George just couldn't handle the divorce, so now he's staging this whole show to mess with you. Many of the onlookers started nodding. Judging from their expressions, quite a few of them believed Willow and Makoto. They started whispering among themselves, throwing judgmental glances our way. Just then, the manager of Cloud Summit Restaurant came rushing over with a group of security guards. He gave a respectful bow. Young miss. All the guards shouted in unison. Good evening, Miss Su. Everyone in a city knew that Cloud Summit Restaurant belonged to the Su family. This moment confirmed Anna's identity without a doubt. The crowd collectively froze in shock. Willow and Makoto's faces turned ghostly pale. They stood there like two mannequins, completely stunned. Anna's eyes flashed coldly. Manager Su, throw these two out. From now on, they're banned from entering this restaurant ever again. It was only then that Willow snapped out of it. If she really got thrown out in front of everyone, her reputation would be utterly destroyed. Miss Sue. I swear I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I was wrong, but no matter what she said, it didn't change the outcome. She and Makoto were escorted out. Finally, the place was peaceful again. After we sat back down, I glanced at Anna with a half smile. Miss Sue, you haven't been in this world long, but you've adapted pretty well to your new identity. Anna stared at me, eyes wide, speechless for several seconds. At that moment, she finally understood what I meant earlier when I called her a fellow traveler. Her eyes lit up. She grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go, calling me hometown buddy over and over again. The restaurant manager nearby just stood there, jaw on the floor, utterly dumbfounded. Anna, now that the dam had broken, turned into a total chatterbox. She went on and on, from her past life to her current one. No topic was off limits. Chapter 15. Anna started showing up at Wang Enterprises even more frequently. It didn't take long for both the Su and Wang families to notice. Anna was clearly not just being polite with me. The Su group's approach was direct and aggressive. They simply sent over piles of high-quality projects. Wang Enterprises was in a period of rapid growth. So of course I welcomed every opportunity with open arms. From that point forward, our company grew like it was on steroids, booming at an insane pace. In contrast, things were going downhill fast for the Lu Corporation. Ever since Willow got publicly thrown out of Cloud Summit restaurant, everyone knew she had offended a real rich heiress. Now, the Su Group, being one of the city's most powerful families, didn't even need to act directly against a small-time company like Lu Corp, but opportunistic businessmen. They never miss a chance to curry favor. Those who were cozying up to the Su family jumped at the opportunity to suppress Lu Corp in the name of loyalty. In just 2 months, Lu Corporation's revenue was cut in half. The whole company was on the verge of collapse. During those 2 months, Willow called me almost every day. After I blocked her, she started coming to the office in person. Every time, I had security throw her out. One day, just as I was leaving work and walking into the parking lot, Willow managed to ambush me. She rushed over and grabbed my arm. George, I know I messed up. I didn't know she was a rich heiress. Please, talk to her for me. I swear, nothing ever happened between me and Makoto. I still love you. If you help me beg for forgiveness, I'll agree to remarry you. Okay. That moment confirmed it for me. This woman was completely out of her damn mind. Willow, can you try running your words through your brain first? You think I'd ever take back someone like you, a woman with no sense of boundaries, no self-awareness, and zero decency? I stopped loving you a long time ago. We ended a long time ago. I'm busy, so stop showing up and harassing me. Willow's shame turned into rage. I don't believe you. You love me so much. This was just a small mistake. I've already apologized. I've humbled myself to you. What more do you want from me? With the kind of temper I had, if she weren't a woman, I would have already beaten her so bad her own parents wouldn't recognize her. Willow, I'll say it one last time. Even if you didn't cheat physically, you cheated emotionally, and that's more than enough for me. I, George, don't want a tainted woman. I don't ever want to see you again because you disgust me. Got that? If you understand, then get the hell out of my sight. This time, Willow was truly stunned. She had thought that after 8 years together, I would still have some lingering feelings for her. She thought that if she just lowered her head, I'd go back to treating her the way I used to. But now, in this moment, she finally understood. There was no going back. Her face went deathly pale. She stood there like an empty shell with no soul. I didn't look back. I got in the car and drove off without hesitation. After that day, Willow never came to see me again. Chapter 16. I later heard that the Lu family went bankrupt. Makoto had convinced Willow to sell off all her domestic assets, pouring the remaining 800 million yuan into an overseas investment. Makoto was in full control of the funds. Then, Makoto and Maria both vanished. Willow pulled every string she could, even filed police reports, but no one could track either of them down. Then, Willow's mother called me. She said Willow was hospitalized, refusing to cooperate with treatment, and she begged me to go visit. Her voice was filled with desperation. Willow's mother had always been a kind, cultured woman, a university professor. Throughout the 5 years I'd been married to Willow, she had always treated the original me with genuine warmth and respect. I last saw her at Lu's father's funeral. She had noticeably more white hair and looked utterly worn down. After thinking it over, I couldn't bring myself to say no. When I saw Willow again, I barely recognized her. Her skin was sallow, her hair greasy and unkempt. Clearly, she hadn't taken care of herself in a long time. She sat in a hospital gown, staring blankly at the ceiling, eyes lifeless. When I walked in, she spoke calmly. You came to laugh at me, didn't you? I didn't reply. She continued. I was such a fool, letting those two scumbags play me like a damn puppet. Ha! I had such a good life, a husband who loved me, a decent company. Maybe someday we would have had two lovely, well-behaved kids, but I ruined it, because I was blind and stupid. I destroyed it all. I'm sorry. Her apology blurred into sobs. I really regret everything. Her mental state was clearly fragile. After crying for a while, she eventually fell asleep. I never said a word. Once she dozed off, I quietly placed a fruit basket beside her bed, and walked away without looking back. Chapter 17. 3 years later, the short-form dramas and large AI language models developed by my company were massive successes. Wang Enterprises also achieved major breakthroughs in smart healthcare and smart home technology. The company's market valuation surpassed 100 billion yuan. And my personal net worth crossed 30 billion. That same year, Anna and I held a grand, extravagant fairytale wedding that went viral across all platforms. We topped the trending charts, and people from all walks of life sent us sincere and joyful blessings. 2 years after that, Anna and I welcomed a daughter and a son, a beautiful, complete family. Meanwhile, Willow, having suffered from years of depression, anxiety, and refusing treatment, her breast cancer had advanced to its late stage. I leaked the whereabouts of Makoto and Maria, who had recently returned to the country with their child. That evening, our little boy got hungry and began crying nonstop. The TV was reporting breaking news. Makoto and his entire family had died in a car crash. As the nanny rushed forward, I stopped her gently. I'll handle it. I picked up the formula myself and went to prepare milk for my son.